Hey everybody, it's Kirsten with Talk Travel Eat, and can you believe it's been 16 months since Mark and I moved to Portugal and over a year since we moved from Porto here to Lisbon. Where does the time go is all that I can say. Um, it really has flown by. In this video today, I'm going to reflect back on our reasons for moving to Portugal, listed out in this first video I did. And that video now was probably about 7 or 8 months ago. And I'm gonna go over those 7 reasons and tell you what I think about them now, how they felt before we moved, and how those reasons have actually played out in reality. So the first reason we moved to Portugal is because of safety. Now, I should give a little context. We didn't move to Portugal for political reasons, for social reasons. Our motive for moving here to Portugal was primarily financial. If you watch this last video, you'll know that we are retired early and on a fixed income, so the cost of living was a very important factor for us. So in talking about safety, obviously we wanted to move somewhere that was safe. And Portugal has definitely lived up to that for us. If you watch this video from last week, I talked a little bit about our time living in Mexico and how it just got really unsafe really quickly. And Portugal has felt just the opposite. It's a fairly big city. You're going to have your standard urban city problems, especially in the tourist areas. You know, you've got pickpocketing. We see on the news there'll be some kind of fight or stabbing here and there. And this happens here in Lisbon. We've seen it in Porto. So there is crime here, but a feeling of relative safety, it's just not an issue. Feel very comfortable walking around all hours of the evening. Yeah, it just feels really safe here, and safety has definitely lived up to its reputation here. The next reason we cited for moving here to Portugal is infrastructure. We wanted to move somewhere that had good infrastructure just for day-to-day living, traveling, transportation, services such as, stores, just anything you would need to make your life easier. And the infrastructure here is pretty good. We can meet all of our basic needs in our neighborhood. If we needed to fly to the United States, we can get on an airplane and do that. The issue we find really is just kind of the lacking in variety of whatever that infrastructure is. For example, if you want to fly to the United States, you only have the choice of a couple cities. Well, okay, a few cities on the East Coast from here and maybe one on the West Coast. As far as stores, you just don't have that dense variety of choice that we're used to. Public transportation here in Lisbon is excellent. I would put that above many big cities that I've visited around the world. So yeah, the infrastructure, I think, is a little bit of a mixed bag for us, but that's just based on what we've been used to in the past. So our third reason for moving here to Portugal is access to quality, affordable health care. And again, Portugal has met that for us. We have used the Hospital de Luz system. We go to Hospital de Luz here in Lisboa, and the service we've had there has been excellent. All of the practitioners have been excellent. Any diagnostics have been excellent. I mean, we've been pleased with the quality. We are both in preventative care mode, just as we were in the US. And so from that standpoint, really feel really good about the care that we've gotten here. I can't speak to an emergency situation. We haven't gone through that here, touch wood. Definitely happy we haven't had to experience that, but I feel fully confident in the healthcare system here. Now, I will say that for most of our time here, on the back end of the pandemic, we see these occasional news stories about the difficulty with the public healthcare system here, simply because, you know, the providers are exhausted, the pay is fairly low, and so there are some hospitals that aren't able to staff certain specialties at certain times. And the recurring stories usually seem to be about obstetrics and gynecology, high risk childbirth. There have been some maternity hospitals that literally have not had anyone on staff that's qualified should some difficulty occur. And you know, that's a concern. I haven't done a lot of research on that issue. It's just something that has been recurring here throughout the country, and just something to keep in mind if you're thinking about having kids. So as far as healthcare goes, absent this maternity hospital difficulty, I haven't looked further into any other difficulties the system may be having. I do understand that the public system has been stressed for years, but at the same time, the private hospitals are pretty easy to get into, to get appointments, get services, and the insurance we have is comprehensive and just covers pretty much anything and everything. Our fourth reason for choosing Portugal was the lower cost of living with the ability to maintain a high standard of living. As I said at the top of the video, our primary motivator for moving anywhere at this stage in our lives was financial. We reduced our income significantly, and we wanted to see where we could live on that reduced income and maintain a high standard of living. Here in Portugal, quite frankly, it's been a little bit of a mixed bag. The cost of living here for us has been quite lower than what we're used to in California. We were able to rent an apartment in the middle of Lisbon. Timing is everything, because the market has changed quite a bit in the last year. But for us, the standard is not quite as high as what we're used to. Back in the United States, we're used to a little bit fancier living conditions, just to be frank, newer. Obviously, moving to Europe, we understood that we would be finding somewhere to live that would be old, obviously, historic, and certainly we wanted to live in Lisbon, and a newly renovated apartment is just out of our price range. Also, we feel strongly that Lisbon as a whole, as far as what it offers for us, it would not be paying those top dollar prices that people are getting for places here. The same thing with somewhere like Cascais. I mean, we came from San Diego. San Diego is basically Cascais on steroids. So we're used to that type of atmosphere for our everyday living. And again, the prices that are being asked for places, for rentals there, we just feel like it's too much money for what is being offered. So yeah, I mean, we've gone back and forth a little bit on this. We really love it here, but at the same time, we've had a lot of time to reflect on what exactly it is we're looking for at this juncture in our lives. One additional thing I will say is that in moving to Portugal, moving abroad, really doing anything major in our lives at this point, and I'm talking for anyone and everyone, I think we have to take into consideration that the last 2 or 3 years as a society, we have been put through the ringer with that COVID-19. The COVID changed so many things for so many people, and we are so grateful that we've had a chance just to step back from all of that and just really think and reflect on it, because quite frankly, most people have had to just keep moving through that, keep moving through day to day. You know, you couldn't stop taking care of your kids, you couldn't stop working. You know, people have had to keep going, and we're lucky that we've had the opportunity to stop and take a beat. And we've been lucky to take that time and get a little more clarity, and just really evaluating that a lot of decisions that people make, ourselves included, in this time period have been made from a place of stress. And we feel a lot differently just about a lot of things now that we've had time to calm down. The world is kind of retilting itself, and it's just interesting to reflect back and look at some of our decision making 2 years ago compared to how we feel now. So to wrap up that long-winded explanation on the lower cost of living, maintaining a high standard of living, yes, we have achieved a low cost of living here, but that higher standard of living is missing. And also, just with Lisbon as a whole, it's a capital city, it's a big city, but at the same time, to us having lived in, let's say, New York City, visited capital cities all around the world, it also can feel like a little bit like living in a suburb with all of the big city amenities. So again, um, we love it here, but there are times when we're really missing um, being in a big city with the variety and the energy that a big city really has to offer. So, our fifth reason for choosing Portugal was its ease of travel back to the United States from here. And that stands true. We've been here 16 months and we have not traveled back to the United States in that time. I talk to my family every week. It could be just like, we're living one town over. We just haven't been over for dinner, basically. But if we needed to get back quickly, we could. So that definitely still stands with our reasoning in choosing Portugal. Our sixth reason for choosing Portugal was the opportunity for travel. I mean, it's Europe, guys. And so for us, if you've watched a few of the previous videos, you know that we are not traveling as much as we'd like simply because of our budget. I've had a lot of time to reflect on this as well, and I even took the time to ask myself, well, do we really love traveling as much as I thought we did? Or was it just that we needed those escapes from day-to-day life when you're just living that stressful existence? Because we have enjoyed our time here without doing very much traveling. But in the end, yes, I do love traveling. And when I've researched trips, here in Europe, on a fixed income, I just can't justify those trips like we did when I was working full time. I mean, when I see how much people are spending to go to Italy or wherever, I'm like, I can't even imagine spending that much money doing that when, a few years back wouldn't have blinked an eye. So it's interesting how the thought process has changed for us with less money. I mean, obviously it's had to change, but our travel opportunities here have, we haven't traveled as much as I would like. Also, being here in Lisbon feels a little bit like being in San Diego from a travel standpoint because, it's a long drive to reach anywhere really different. I mean, from San Diego, you can drive to the Bay Area. That's going to take you 8 hours minimum. You could drive to Las Vegas. Well, that's 6 hours. You could go out east, but the first place you're really going to hit is Phoenix. Same thing here. We could hop on a bus, but it's 8 hours to Madrid. It's not like that feeling we imagined where we could just hop on a train for 2 hours and be in a completely different country in a major city. That is another thing about the infrastructure and the travel opportunities. The train connections from here to other places outside of the country just aren't the greatest. So that for us has been a little bit of a bummer. When you think of being in Europe, you think 2 hours here or 2 hours there, and you're speaking another language, eating a completely different kind of food. So that's just a little bit of a bummer with regard to travel, and that's just for us, and we're talking about being on that budget. So, our final reason for choosing Portugal is the friendly people. And this has definitely lived up to the hype. Pretty much everyone that we've met here has just been very nice, very welcoming, and it's just really, it's been a pleasure just to deal with people on a day-to-day basis here. One thing that we have noticed and learned over time is that the general feeling here in Portugal for us, this is just our perception, there's almost, it's just very quiet, very reserved, very conservative. There are some places you go to and you can just feel the energy of the people. You can just feel how alive certain cultures are. I mean, a perfect example would be the Brazilian culture. Spending the last 16 months here in Portugal, it's interesting when you meet Brazilians and just their liveliness, their vivaciousness, just the energy. And I hate to generalize an entire culture of people, but this has just been our experience. Whereas the Portuguese people are much more reserved and subdued, and the longer that we are here, the more that we can see this. And it's neither a good thing or a bad thing. It's basically just an observation, and it's not something that we knew beforehand or could know. I'll tell you a funny story. When we first got here to Lisbon last year, we were going to IKEA to get some stuff for our apartment, and our Uber driver, he was just, asking us where we were from, this, that, and the other. And he was like, Portugal, my country. I mean, we are just a sad people. Do you notice our music, the fado? I mean, he was just talking about his culture, and we were so surprised because we were like, well, no, we haven't noticed. And of course, at that point, we had only been here 4 months. But now that we've been here a little bit longer, it's funny. We think about that cab driver because he was saying something, and we have found that to be true. So it's just interesting learning things over time. So those are my reflections on our 7 reasons we chose Portugal and how we feel about those 7 reasons now that we've been here in Portugal for about 16 months. As with any experiment, once you gather enough data, it's time to reevaluate. Would we do it all again? Absolutely. Are we staying put, or are we looking at other options? I don't know. It's definitely something we've discussed. We're always evaluating, making sure we're doing what's best for ourselves and what we want to do. It's definitely an interesting discussion, and I'm sure I'll have more to say about it in upcoming videos. So, as always, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think about this video. I enjoy your comments. If you're watching this video and you haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.